We are back today with my favorite subgenre of romance, which is taboo romances. I feel like this isn't surprising if you've been around my channel for a long time. That's kind of what I'm known for here, which is taboo, forbidden, and dark romances. And if there was only one like umbrella of romance that I could read for the rest of my life, it would be taboo. Because also there's so many other tropes that fall under taboo, but this one, it's just supreme. I love all the books that I'm going to talk about today. I tried to pick like a good mix. And okay, the thing is, I truly picked ones that are taboo. So not ones that are like forbidden, where it's like there's rules in place that you can't be together, like student teacher, like workplace, like boss employee, nothing, or like cheating, like someone else's husband. This is truly like it's just people give you a little side eye, like, what are you doing? It's not technically wrong, but it is like, that's questionable. And you know what? I love that. So that's what we're gonna do today. I have 8 forbidden or 8 taboo romances. So first up, I have a Godfather one, and that is Gratify by Caitlin Taylor. So this one, our heroine, her parents pass away at the start of this book, and even though she is an adult, she still lived at home. She's like college aged, and she's living at home, and right next door lives her best friend and also her boyfriend she recently broke up with, and her godfather, who is her ex-boyfriend's dad. So there's also that in the mix here. And when her parents pass away, her godfather really kind of takes her under his wing a little bit, even though, like I said, she is an adult. She is like really grieving that loss, and she doesn't have any other family around to really support her. And she has kind of always had a bit of an attraction to him, even when she was dating his son, but now that her and the son are broken up, and as she's kind of dealing with her grief and he is really dealing with his grief, because those were his best friends in the whole world, and without them he kind of also doesn't really know what to do, they kind of find some comfort in their grief with each other. But obviously doesn't really want to cross that line with her because she's his son's ex-girlfriend. That's his best friend's daughter, and there's a pretty big age gap between them, but the longer that they're around each other more, the more he just can't deny that he wants her. This one was very enjoyable. We read it back last year for Smut Club, me and Cheyenne did, and it was like a really good like last book to go out with for that one. It's taboo on multiple levels, yet truly you do see them bonding within their grief and how much they care about each other, and it is really beautiful to watch. So even like though this is a taboo story, there is like that emotional depth to it that I really loved, and yeah, definitely check it out. Next up, let's go with an ex-boyfriend's mom's romance, which is Don't Stop Me by Eden Emery. So this one is another age gap. So our heroine in this one, so actually I think at the very beginning of this book, I think it's like the early like the first chapter, she goes to this one like club type event, like spicy club event, and because she's wanting to kind of do some exploring about herself, and when she goes there she ends up having this like arrangement that evening with this one older woman, and they have an amazing night together. She really like finds out a lot of stuff about herself, and both of our heroines kind of feel like that bit of a connection, but obviously because it's just like this arranged thing at this party, they're like, okay, we go our separate ways, whatever, we get back to our everyday lives. However, that is until our younger heroine ends up showing up at our older heroine's house with her son. And yeah, it is in fact an ex-boyfriend's mom's trope. So actually she has been dating this dude. She doesn't really like him, and they actually are like breaking up. They're in the process of breaking up, but he like begs her to come with to his mom's house because he doesn't want to have to go there and like explain to her that they recently broke up. So she agrees, she ends up going, and then immediately when the two of them see each other, they're like, oh my god, it's the woman from the club. And then the mom's like, oh my god, it's my son's girlfriend. Like, what was she doing at this club? Was she cheating on my son? So immediately she's kind of like, screw you a little bit. But then she finds out like, the truth, and it ends up being their romances. Let me tell you, there's also like, I wouldn't know if I'd call it mafia, but maybe like organized crime stuff in here. And yeah, that little like club night, she kind of like runs that on the side as well. So there's like that aspect that kind of gets like pulled into their relationship a little bit. Let me tell you, this is so fun. I feel like we read so many ex-boyfriend's dad's romance, so then to have an ex-boyfriend's mom's romance, It's great. I really enjoyed this one. And I want to read more from Eden Emery. So you see some side characters in this one. I actually think this one might be book 2, but like I didn't read book 1, so you can go in and enjoy this one without like having read book 1. And I think book 3 is Stepsisters. So like I'm for sure gonna be reading that at some point. But yeah, this one's really fun. Let's go with kind of, I feel like, the epitome of taboo romance. And once again, this one's very popular. It's been talked about a lot, but because there are always new people coming to the genre, discovering taboo romances, I never want to not include something just because it's popular. So Credence by Penelope Douglas. This is one of my favorite taboo romances of all time. So this one follows Tiernan, and when she is just shy of turning 18, her parents both end up dying. And she's never really been close to them. She's never really had like a tight family unit, but also like that's still her parents, and all of a sudden they're both gone. And she ends up getting a call from her distant step uncle, no blood relations here. But anyways, Uncle Jake ends up calling in and is like, hey, so like technically I'm your guardian. Me and your dad didn't really fuck with each other, but like I guess I'm your guardian. If you want to come live out in Colorado with me and my 2 sons, then like great, but also like you're almost an adult, and if you want to like stay in California, go for it. And Tiernan's like, I don't know these people. I've like never met them in my entire life, but also I don't have anything going for me here. She's very lonely, and she's like, you know, fine, I'll go to Colorado and live with them. And when she shows up, she gets to know her distant non-blood related family. She gets to know Jake and Caleb and Noah. And so as much as this is taboo, because she does explore a relationship with all 3 of them, she does end up picking one in the end. It's not a who I choose. But even though she does do that, this really is, there's a lot of like mental healing and emotional healing that Tiernan goes through, because obviously losing her parents is traumatic, but also her parents were kind of gone before they were even gone. And she just kind of has to process all of that, and the 3 of them kind of help her go through that. So just as much as this is insanely spicy and very fun, there also is some real depth to this book that I just love. Y'all know Penelope Douglas is my all-time favorite author. I will read anything that they write. It's so fun. It'll have you questioning things. I just got one of my friends recently to read it who does not really read romance, or like doesn't read like my romances that I read, and she was like, am I fucked up for enjoying this? And I was like, no. Enjoy it. Enjoy the ride. Okay, next up, you want a novella, you want something short, quick, and to the point, but also fun. Fate at Fault by Andy Sims. This one is an MFF romance, and it is a stepmother and stepchildren. Okay, listen. So our heroine in this one, she's younger. I think she's in her late 20s, maybe mid to late 20s, and she married someone that was much older than her, and she is ready to leave him. Like, she does not fuck with her husband anymore, but before she can do that, he ends up dying. And then she's like, I have to plan all of these funeral arrangements for this dude and figure out what to do with all of his like wealth and properties. And she's like, oh, I don't want to have to deal with that. I was leaving him. But anyway, she ends up having to plan his funeral. And as those preparations are coming about, his 2 adopted children so they were both adopted by him, like they're not, the brother and sister are not blood related, end up coming back, and they hated their father. They've hated all of their other stepmothers, and they've truly never felt like a bond with him at all. They were kind of more like a possession to him a little bit. So they are now off. I think they're both in college, or like even both in the workforce now. And so everyone's like adults, obviously. And they end up coming back, and they never really got to know their new stepmother because they were never coming around their dad at all. But then when they are in town for the funeral, our heroine, she ends up seeing them, and she's kind of like, am I kind of like into my stepkids? Why are they kind of hot? And then the stepkids, she ends up finding out that the 2 of them are together, and that they invite her to be with them, all while they're like planning the dad's funeral. It's wild. Okay, it's just a wild, fun ride. Let me tell you, it's hot. Like I said, it's shorter. I think it's maybe like 150 pages, but actually I bought into the connection that all 3 of them have, and they do kind of bond over this kind of like piece of garbage dude who's now dead, and that they're all kind of like in town supposed to be mourning when they like don't really feel like mourning him. Anyways, I really enjoyed it. If you want something quick, look no further. Okay, You want to get into some cheating? Let's get into some cheating. Power by Cassandra Robbins. So this one is an age gap mom's fiance. So our heroine in this one, she has never gotten along with her mother at all, but she does end up having to move in with her when she is going to this new university, so that way she can be closer to it. And when she moves in, she ends up meeting her mom's fiance, who she has not met prior to this. And our hero is this very like successful, famous businessman, whatever, very driven, rich, you know the deal, ridiculously hot. And she's kind of like, what are you doing with my mom? And she meets him, and immediately she's kind of like put off with him just because he's with her mom, and her mom sucks. So she's like, I don't really want anything to do with you. But obviously now they're living together, and our hero is immediately like, I'm with the wrong one. She's really hot. And let me tell you, it is a little insta-lovey, or I'd say insta-lusty more so. And yeah, it doesn't make you wait long. I think they're already like hooking up by like the 3rd chapter. And they're doing it all behind the mom's back. And I mean, there's more to it than that, but honestly, that's just like the basic premise, okay? They're living under the same roof. He's supposed to be with her mom. She hates her mom. Very fun, very enjoyable. Yeah. Let's go with Best Friend's Dad, an age gap romance. The Worst Kept Secret by Kiwi Tyler. My favorite of her newest releases. I am still obsessed with Avery and Theo. So obviously this one follows Avery and Theo. So Avery has always been best friends with the boy next door, and he has always kind of wanted more for her, but she's never really had those feelings for him. She's always been attracted to his dad. And as they are both graduating college, Avery is getting ready to move back to her hometown to help her mom at their business, while then her best friend is I think he's going off to like New York or something. So she's gonna kind of have some free access to his dad, who lives next door. And Theo is a retired NHL player, and he has had like a rough experience with his ex in the past, but he got his 2 kids out of that, and he's really enjoyed like raising them, whatever, having this kind of like quieter life now. And when Avery's back, he kind of can't help but feel some sort of way about her, but he would never cross that line. He is not going to be the one to initiate that, because he's like, I could never do that to my son, because even though they've never dated, he knows that his son has always kind of had it out for Avery. But Avery, she's not so willing to just let him turn her down. Okay, listen, she knows what she wants, and she was going to get what she wants. And so, I mean, there's an age gap in there. There is the neighbors, and they are like sneaking around because Theo is also friends with her parents. It's not as much like dad's best friend vibes. I mean, obviously they're friends, but it is more so the fact that like the son, they don't want to like hurt him. But let me tell you, these two, they are so hot together. Theo, he truly gave James a run for his money, because as we all know, James Calloway from Always Been You, my all-time favorite QB hero. But Theo really gave him a run for his money. Oh, some videos when I'm explaining things, I feel like I'm just flowing. I feel like I'm selling it. I feel like I'm doing so good. And then there are other days where I'm like, these videos are going to be horrendous to edit, because I'm like pausing all the time and having to like figure out my next sentence. And that is one of them today. I feel like I have not explained a single book well at all. So just, I guess, take my word for these books, okay? Look them up yourself, look up the descriptions, but they're all great, so just go with it, okay? Last 2, I have one of the biggest age gaps I think I've like ever read, and it is a Spicy Club and Uncle's Best Friend, and that is Liar by Fiona Cole. So this is the 5th book in the Voyeur series. However, you do not need to read them in order to have them make sense. So this one follows Olivia and Kent. So Olivia, she's in college, I think, and she really likes architecture and like design. And her uncle, who she's always been really close with, is like, hey, my bestie Kent is like looking for some interns at his company. I can hook you up with a job there. And Kent immediately is like, I want her nowhere near my workplace, because he is attracted to Olivia and he doesn't want that temptation around, but he also doesn't really have a way of telling his best friend like that he doesn't want his niece there. So Olivia ends up starting a job there. She's not like really working underneath him, but she does end up going there. And also this is all centered around this club Voyeur, where Kent, I think he's more like contracted by them to help with their design. And Olivia is very curious about Voyeur. She's very curious about things, and she wants what Kent can offer her. And Kent is like, I can't do that with my best friend's niece. Like, there's no way, like, we cannot cross that line. But Olivia is like, fine then, I'll go by myself. And he's like, well, I won't let you do that. And it ends up being their romance. I really enjoy this one, and it is shorter too, so obviously, like, if you want something that's a little faster paced, I don't necessarily think that this is like insta-lovey, but it does, like, the pace of the book just moves pretty quickly. So if you just want something that's like really gonna capture your attention and just like kind of blaze through, this is a really good one. Honestly, the entire Voyeur series is good for that, and it's also extremely hot. And yeah, there's some sneaking around that they got to do, and obviously it's taboo because there is quite a big age gap. Like, I want to say Kent is he in his 50s? He might be like late 40s, and Olivia's like early 20s. So I don't know, it's a pretty big age gap. Okay, and last but not least, now technically I think this one would fall under forbidden because there are actual rules, but I just love it so much and I just want to talk about it like all the time because it truly is going to be a favorite of mine for the year. So I'm sneaking it in here. So yes, I'm breaking my own rule because technically this one is forbidden, but whatever. Forbidden and taboo go hand in hand, and that is Head in the Game by Rebecca Wraith. So this one is a coach-athlete romance. So our one hero in this, he recently got kicked out of his last school that he was on scholarship for playing football because he ended up sleeping with the coach's daughter and beating up the coach's nephew. So yeah, the coach hated him and he's like, you got to get out of here. So our hero is kind of like, I don't know what my next steps are. He has no money, no family, like nothing really going for him. And our other hero, he was recently brought in at this university to be their head coach. He's a former NFL player, and he was brought in with one purpose and one purpose only, and that is to bring the school a championship. So when he finds out that our hero is without a school, he ends up going, finding him, offering him a scholarship, and bringing him onto the team because he knows that they can help him win. When our hero shows up, he just doesn't really like listening to authority, and our coach does not like that, and he's not going to put up with that. And he immediately clocks him and is like, I'm not going to put up with your attitude here, and like, I'm going to end up teaching you a lesson. And it does kind of turn into a bit of a dom sub dynamic between them. But let me tell you, the thing that just worked for me in this book is that I've complained about this a lot recently. Over probably the past like 2 years, I have had a problem with a lot of forbidden and taboo romances that have come out lately because so many of them, the characters don't care. They don't fight it, and that bothers me because in a forbidden or taboo romance, I want them to fight it because they know that they shouldn't be together, and I want them to be questioning themselves, and I want them to hold out, and I want them to hesitate. And these two do that. They are both aware. The coach is aware that his position, like his job, is on the line, and he's also aware that if he gets caught with our hero, that our hero's potential future in the NFL is like ruined. And like, he knows that he's talented. He knows that he can do that and go far in his career, and he doesn't want to ruin that for him. So truly, they fight it. They fight their attraction until it's just too much and they can't take it anymore. And it's so good. I loved this book. Like I said, it's probably going to be a top 10 of me for this year. The second book, but I don't think it's like in the same series, but Rebecca Wraith just came out with another one. It's called like Man On, and it's a stepbrother one, and it's, I think, like or actually, is it soccer maybe? I don't know if it's football. Whatever, I will be reading that one. I just really enjoyed this book, and if you want a book that has like consequences and when the characters are actually really fighting for it, read it. So anyways, that is it for today's video. So next week, I think I'm going to have on Tuesday, I think I'm going to have books I love, but I don't talk about a lot because there are so many books that I love that just like don't really fall into any of the tropes that I tend to like make videos for. And then I think on Friday, I'm going to have Bodyguard romance recommendations. So I think that's what you can expect next week. That is it for today's video. And I'll see you when I see ya.